It was a nightmare performance for Auburn against top 10 Michigan. Welcome into this edition of the Barn Hoops podcast. As always, I am your host, Jacob Hillman. And today we are breaking down a brutal 30-point loss by Auburn to number 7 Michigan in the Players Era Championship, 102-72, as Auburn really never got into this game against the Wolverines. And this was a game that I felt like Auburn had a chance to make a statement in, to come out and assert itself as a contender in the SEC and maybe the national stage as well. And that was not the case last night for the Tigers, as they fall in dominant fashion to Michigan, as the Wolverines just get dominant performances from Yaxel Lindenberg, 17 from him, as well as 5 rebounds and 4 assists. He didn't record a foul. He didn't record a turnover. And it was just in 27 minutes of action. He was incredible in the first half. The Wolverines shoot 40% from 3. Just so many things went wrong for Auburn in this game. We're going to try to break it down here, as it's a major wake-up call for this Auburn basketball team and what's to come. And this team needs to figure things out after this game. And I think today's game, and I'm not sure, as I'm recording this right after the game against Michigan, not sure exactly when or who Auburn will play today on Wednesday. But regardless, it is a very and ultra important game for the Tigers. But as always, be sure you're subscribed here on YouTube, hit the like button, and wherever you listen to your podcast for all the coverage this Auburn basketball season on the Barn Hoops podcast, as well as the coverage of the upcoming head football coach that will be named by Auburn over the next couple of weeks, and how that is going to translate for the Tigers on the gridiron. But right now we're talking about the hardwood and just what went wrong for Auburn in this ball game, because it's really hard to kind of really pin it down. As let's start with the fact that this Michigan team is a bona fide national title contender. This team is built, I feel, similarly to the way Auburn was built last year, with so much experience, whether it's from the transfer portal or guys that have played for Michigan over the last few years. This coaching staff for the Wolverines, led by Dusty May, is a strong one and has been together for quite some time. So full credit to Michigan for what they were able to do and how they game plan for the Tigers last night. But it really is it's a brutal loss for Auburn, in the sense that it was one of the worst performances that we've seen from an Auburn team in quite some time. I mean, it's the biggest non-conference margin of defeat since Clemson in 2018, when that Auburn team was depleted. It had lost Anthony McLemore. You saw the writing on the wall with that team as the end of that season concluded, and you knew kind of that team was running out of gas. It had won its SEC championship and put Auburn basketball back on the map, and so be it. Whereas this team, it's early in the year and there's plenty of season left. It's going to be important for this team to find a way to bounce back. So let's really kind of dive into this, and kind of, I don't really know where to start, but I think we start at the start of the game. Last yesterday, we talked about how Auburn needed to get off to a quick start, and it didn't at all, and specifically foul trouble. And I think there were 6 fouls called, or maybe it was 10 fouls in the first 6 minutes of the first half. And that just cannot happen. Auburn, as a team, it wasn't 10 fouls in the first 6 minutes. I think it was 6 minutes in the first few minutes. But regardless, Auburn dug itself into a hole. It was an 11-0. Auburn goes up 2-0 to start the game. And then Michigan goes on an 11-0 run and never looks back. And the three-point shooting looked extremely impressive. It was all falling for the Wolverines in this game, as again, Auburn kind of the opposite, turning the ball over, not grabbing rebounds, especially on the defensive end. And and really not converting on its opportunities when it turned Michigan over. There was a few times where it felt like Auburn and Michigan were just giving the ball back to each other, and it felt like several of those moments felt like a time that Auburn needed to convert and to try and get itself back in the ball game, and it just couldn't. So, I mean, really, I honestly, I'm not even. This is a frustrating loss for the Tigers, and I'm just gonna go down the box score because I think that's the easiest way to tell the story of this game, in the sense that Auburn was dominated on both ends of the floor by Michigan. The Wolverines executed and game plan much more effectively than the Tigers did. So you look at the field goals. Michigan was 51% from the field, 35 to 68. Auburn was only 35%, 22 of 62. From three, Auburn actually shot a better percentage than Michigan, but shot 11 less three-point attempts than the Wolverines did. Michigan was 14 of 35 from deep. Auburn was 10 of 24, and a lot of those threes came late in the game, as well as from Tahaad Pettiford, who he had another, impressive performance on a surface level with 16 points on 4 of 10 shooting, 4 of 6 from 3, 4 of 5 from the free throw line. But there was not enough going offensively that he was able to facilitate. It was a lot of yesterday we talked about it. Coach Pearl was not happy with the my turn shots, and it felt like that's what happened a lot in the game against Michigan with this entire team. And that's not to single out Pettiford at all, because again, he scores 16 points. He's your leading scorer. You can't kind of take him down for that. But it just didn't feel like this offense had a flow at all. Auburn missed its first 6 shots of the game and never got into it until late. And then going down to the free throws, it looks so much better against Oregon. And then Auburn shoots 55% from the free throw line, 18 of 33. That can't happen. It cannot happen in these games. Auburn missed, I think, the front end of a 1-and-1 3 consecutive times when it got to the line, when the fouls started to even up. Clearly officiating saw how many fouls Auburn had compared to Michigan and evened it up. And Auburn could not convert. It was so frustrating. And yeah, Michigan's 18 to 22 from the line, 82%, exactly what Auburn was against Oregon. The way that's where Auburn needs to sit. And you go down the line. Tahaad was 4 of 5 from the line. Kevin Overton was 2 of 4. Keyshawn Murphy was 0 of 1. Keyshawn Hall was 6 of 7. And Filip Jovic is 5 of 11. And Sebastian Williams-Adams is 1 of 5 from the charity stripe. It just can't happen. You've got to be better from the free throw line when you get those opportunities. And I'm going to give a lot of credit to Filip Jovic here in a little bit, because I feel like he was one of the biggest positives of this game, if not the only positive. But regardless, the free throw shooting has to be better. Auburn only turns the ball over 8 times in this game, and 3 of them were by Elijah Freeman. He struggled quite a bit in this game, as he scores 0 points on 0 of 3 shooting. He gets 6 rebounds, so that's the biggest takeaway for him, is that he was still battling and fighting on the glass, and was Auburn's best rebounder in this game outside of Filip Jovic. And that's what Auburn needed. This Michigan team was so tall. Its front line, led by Yaxel Lindenberg, who was really the starting 3, 6'9", 6'9", 7'3". Auburn doesn't have that size. And I think that's kind of the most frustrating part about it, was while Auburn didn't perform well, it never felt like Auburn had a shot, even if it did perform well. I just don't think that the Tigers matched up well at all against the Wolverines, and that this team, this Michigan team, was going to really impose its will on whoever it was in this matchup. And I just, again, Auburn had some moments, but they never translated to a run or any kind of fight in this game, as the Tigers were down by 28 at halftime and ultimately lost by 30. It was a better second half, I guess, and probably because Michigan took its foot off the gas. You can't give up 59 points in the first half, though, is my point. Michigan turns 12 of those points, or 8 of those turnovers by Auburn, into 12 points. But when you look at again, let's go back to the first half, when this was a ball game, and when this game was kind of in reach. Auburn, from shooting, was 9 of 27 from the field. Michigan was 21 of 36. And from three, the 3-point percentage wasn't too far off, as Auburn made 5, Michigan made 7, but it came down to the second chance points and points off turnovers. In the first half, Auburn turned it over 6 times, and Michigan turned that into 12 points. Michigan turned it over twice. Auburn turned it into 0 points. Offensive rebounds, Michigan grabbed 7, Auburn grabbed 5. It was 0 second chance points for the Tigers and 13 for the Wolverines. That's the story of the game and why Auburn was really never in it from the get-go. Auburn didn't make a shot for the first several minutes of the ball game and turned the ball over too many times and allowed Michigan to turn that into points. And even when they missed, they were getting rebounds and putting it back for a layup or whatever it is. Michigan gets 19 points off the bench and in the first half, and that turns into 47 for the game, led by Roddy Gale Jr. He has 17 off the bench, 6 of 13 from the field. He has 6 rebounds, 2 assists. Again, that's a bench guy that we talked about it after the Oregon game of, yeah, you kind of contain the 2 key playmakers for the Ducks, but you had several other guys that stepped up and had big games. Now, in this instance, it was the key playmaker for Michigan and Axel Lindeborg who had a great game. Continuing down on this box score, the rebounding numbers are just it's not what Auburn was looking for whatsoever. 51 total rebounds to Auburn's 35. Michigan out-rebounded the Tigers by 16, and that's by 15 on the defensive glass. Part of that's because Auburn missed way more shots than Michigan. But then even look at the offensive glass, and Michigan got Auburn by 1 there, 16-15. So it's tough. And you keep scrolling down, and there's nothing that stands out to me, again, outside of the second chance points and the points off turnovers that were really a discrepancy in the first half until you get to the assist number. And Auburn had 3 total assists in this game. 1 by Tahaad Pettiford, 1 by Keyshawn Murphy, and 1 by Elijah Freeman. Michigan had 19. Michigan had 19 assists in this game, led by Axel Lindeborg. He was facilitating the entire offense. He was the entire offense, and Auburn couldn't slow him down whatsoever. And he only played 27 minutes. And again, that's just not how this Auburn offense can orchestrate. It has to be a free-flowing system. It can't be, like Stephen Pearl alluded to after the Oregon game, my turn to shoot. It's gotta flow, and you gotta find open guys. So again, how do you respond? I'm still not quite sure. Again, recording this directly after the game, so I don't think a matchup is quite set at this point for Wednesday in the 3rd game of the Players Era Championship. But it's still one of those things that regardless of the matchup, it is so important to get a win and so important to look impressive, even if you don't win, as this is going to be something that you take into next week against NC State inside Neville Arena. You need to respond. You need to build some momentum for that game. So Auburn's going to have a week off between this last game of the Players Era Championship and the SEC ACC Challenge against NC State. So I think the most important thing is the commitment on the defensive end to really lock in and grab rebounds and really shut down some of the 3-point shooting. You got to defend without fouling. You've got to have an interior presence. And while you got to do that, you can't leave the 3-point line open, as that's how Michigan really got things going early on in that game. And I think that's kind of the key is Michigan came in knowing that one wanted to respond to the fact that it lost to Auburn in the Sweet 16 just 8 months ago, but 2, that it had a chance to establish itself as the team to beat in not only the Big Ten, but in the nation. Obviously, there's the conversations around Gonzaga. There's the conversations around Houston, Tennessee, and I'm sure I'm missing some other teams, but Michigan wants to be in that mix, and it certainly is after that performance against Auburn. Positives, any positives? I would call Filip Jovic, his performance, a positive. He had 13 points on 4 of 7 shooting. 5 of 11 from the free throw line is not where you want to see it, but to me, that just shows room for improvement where he could have scored 20 points in this game nearly. And he grabbed 6 rebounds. We had 2 fouls, no turnovers. That was really good to see. And listen, he battled like hell down low against those tall, bigs from Michigan, including Ade Mara, and that's what was good to see. And I'm hoping that can really translate going forward. And there's no discouragement whatsoever, even in a big loss like that. But really, just an impressive performance from him. He played quite a bit, 28 minutes. That was not the team high, as Keyshawn Hall played 32. And I guess that's another positive to take away, I would say, is that Keyshawn Hall looks pretty healthy out there, playing 36 minutes against Oregon, 32 against Michigan, and he scored 15 against Michigan. He's 4 of 11 shooting. You want him to be a little bit more efficient. Pettiford looks fine shooting the ball again, as he's 4 of 6 from 3. So it was good to see him find his rhythm from beyond the arc. And I mean, what else is there to say? Because Michigan just flat out dominated this game, man. This is going to be a bit of a shorter recap just because I don't think there's not much more to do than to flush this. And I think that's what this Auburn team is really going to have to focus on is sure. I think a guy like Filip Jovic wants to take this away and go into next few games and really wanting to kind of continue that momentum. Keyshawn Murphy was pretty good with his 15 points. 12 points on 5 of 10 shooting. He made 2 threes as well. But outside of that, I just think that a lot of these guys have got to reset and you're gonna want to watch the film and figure out what exactly happened here. But it's not something that you're gonna want to hang your hat on too much. And I think it might be a good thing that Auburn has another game tomorrow. That will help flush it for sure, as long as Auburn doesn't let this performance carry over and however many hours it's going to be, probably less than 24, quite frankly. And that's going to be very important. So I'm trying to think if there's anything else that the size mismatch is really, I think, what the key was. Auburn did not go out and get any bigs, any true centers outside of Keyshawn Murphy, who's kind of an undersized center, especially for SEC, other than Emeka Oporum. And Oporum is a JUCO project. He is not ready to play 20 to 30 minutes in these kinds of matchups. So how is Auburn going to try and kind of match the ability against some of these taller teams? Florida is going to be a difficult matchup with its elite front court. And you're not going to face teams as good of a front court with Michigan, but still, I think the precedent is out there now that you can really have your way against Auburn's front court with guys of that size. How will Auburn answer the bell? We'll see. And it starts again today in whatever matchup is set. Again, recording this right after the loss to Michigan. So AuburnTigers.com, Auburn men's basketball social media will have the game day information for today. So again, it's going to be so important to answer and respond today in Las Vegas, so this doesn't really translate or carry over into the flight home. You want a happy flight home regardless of what happened. You want to be able to flush this way, say, well, we did have 2 good performances against Oregon, and insert team here that Auburn can hopefully perform much better against later on today. So again, that's kind of all I've got here, because it was a tough looking performance from Auburn, and hopefully it doesn't carry over. Hopefully it doesn't translate to anything too major, but these happen. It's basketball, and it's important for this team to lock in and kind of look at each other and say, all right, let's look back at that Oregon game and see what worked well, and let that take over going forward. So we're going to break down everything that comes from today's game against whoever that may be. And we will look ahead to NC State next week, as well as kind of the rest of the non-conference schedule in December, because we're just a few games away from SEC action. Auburn has NC State again in Neville Arena, goes to Arizona, faces Chattanooga in Holiday Hoopsgiving in Atlanta, goes to Purdue in Indianapolis, and then it faces Queens on December 29th to wrap up non-conference play, and then it's SEC action in January. So it's just right around the corner. It's time for the Tigers to really settle in and gel together, and it's got a great chance to do that today and next week at home and then on the road. So you got a neutral site today, a home game next Wednesday, and then on the road at the McHale Center next Saturday night on Football Championship Saturday. So looking forward to it, regardless of the result last night. Listen, it's great that Auburn has this expectation that this should never happen anymore, and that's where this program is at. And I know Coach Stephen Pearl feels the same way. So I anticipate that Auburn will play. It's 1-1 in the tournament. So if we take a look at some of these 1-1 teams, we can kind of start to figure out who it is, because there is a Players Era Standings website that's kind of helping it out. So, so St. John's is 1-1, Houston's 1-1, Notre Dame's 1-1, Baylor's 1-1, and then there's a few other games as I'm recording this still to be played. So we'll have to see. Alabama could be 1-1. We'll see if that's how that pans out. But regardless, thank you for tuning in to this edition of the Barn Hoops Podcast. Be sure you are subscribed. You hit the like button on YouTube and wherever you listen to your podcasts, as we'll have more breakdowns going forward, whether it's today's game in the Players Era Championship, next Wednesday's NC State game, or the Arizona game that following Saturday. So can't wait to bring it to you right here on the Barn Podcast Network.